Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of ShredMentor Live. I'm your host, Jason Aaron Wood, and tonight we're going to talk a bit about something I think we should have talked about a long time ago on an exclusive, almost exclusively, Shred channel. But let's talk about speed killers. Honestly, ever since I sort of learned how to practice correctly, so like since 2004, I've always practiced for speed. Hey, by the way, hi Mike. Hi Matthew, good to see you guys. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I see the little thing going up and down. I hear the guitar, I see the guitar, so hopefully we're good. Anyway though, yes, ever since like 2004, everything I practice for speed. That's like always been one main thing. And it's basically, that is everything I'm able to do. I want to be able to do it at the fastest tempo possible. Because I might be playing at that tempo, you know? So, you know, I want every option open to me. And you see, it's not about showing off. All right, maybe it's a little bit about showing off. That's fine. Showmanship is part of our job as a guitarist. But it's about having control, though, in every possible situation and having, you know, like, no matter what the tempo is, it's about having options. I want as many of my pieces of my vocabulary still available to me, no matter how high that tempo gets. And of course, certain techniques are sort of going to speed out. You're going to sort of you're going to lose them. They fall off the table the higher and higher that tempo gets. All right. So, yeah, anyway, thank you. I'm very glad to hear that is working. Okay. I'm going to see something real quick here because I am actually not hearing, you know what? I just need to hear more in my headphones. That's all. Yeah, that's better. Shouldn't make any difference to you. You can hear both. That's what matters. So in a way, you know, this is sort of a, I guess it's, let's see, I guess it's sort of a practicing for results. Yeah, it's sort of a practicing results episode, really. But we're going to talk more about the problems that we run into. All right, so let's go right ahead and, you know.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
Anyway. Having a ball with video this week. All right, so let's just dive right in. Basically, the whole thing is a practicing results episode, but we're going to talk about the things that really kill your ability to play fast. And these are really not particularly in much of an order. Really doesn't matter. I mean, they're all going to get in your way, and so, you know, I'll talk about each one. There's 7 of them. There's also a bonus one that I'm going to talk about a little bit, which is kind of underlies everything, but we'll talk about that toward the end. So be sure to stick around. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel on YouTube in particular, but you know, that's definitely the best place. ShredMentor on YouTube is the place to be, especially going forward. That's mostly my home now, video land. So our first one here is same finger, pick up and jump. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I'll make it. I don't do this regularly, so I have to kind of think a little hard about this one, but I see people do it a lot. Let's say it's like yeah, that one's not as bad. That kind of thing. That's fine as a phrase, but if you're going to loop it, it's not fine because this finger needs to jump to another location. In fact, even I'm trying to do something where it's not the same fret. The thing is, you don't want the last note that you play in a phrase that has to loop to be using the same finger as you start on, especially if that note is at a different fret on a different string, where you have to pick up and jump. You basically have to sacrifice the length of that ringing out note in order to get to the other note. You don't want that to have to happen. So this is not really so much that, it's not like so much watch out for that, because any decent exercise isn't going to contain that. This is about when you're coming up with stuff for yourself. So part of my idea of this show tonight is that these are things you're going to be coming up with, okay? And you know me, it's gonna probably involve sequences, you know. I don't have the in-your-face sequences thing on here anymore. Oh, of course I do. Yes, I do. No, I don't. I got rid of it. I don't know what I was thinking. How annoying. I love that thing. Oh well. Yeah, you know me. Sequences are the name of the game. So the concept here is that you're going to be coming up with things, right? And there are certain things. I mean, like if you're going to just move one finger around, I'm not saying that, like, you know, like, so there's really a lot of different sequences where the first. It's really not a problem. Because you have some time and you just have one note and you're just moving one note away in the scale. So depending on how many modes away it is or how many frets away, on that's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. But where you have to pick up and jump across is going to be a big problem, because again, the only real option you're going to have, especially if mainly if they're at different frets. So rolling or barring or whatever, not an option in those cases. It means the only thing left, well, there's two options, I guess. Miss your note and come in late, or cut off the last note of the phrase in order to transport your hand to the new place, which is a terrible musical approach. You don't want to do that. The listener shouldn't have to hear the mechanics of you playing, other than to be like, wow, that's badass. Okay? So when it comes to that kind of thing, beware of that. As you're coming up with your concepts using sequences, like from the Book of Sequences, if you don't have that, get that. It's easy to use, and it's completely universal, and it's not just something I made up. I'm just supplying tools that composers have been using for centuries. So if you don't have a copy of that, go to shredmentoronline.com/products, pick up a copy of the ebook. It's only $10 and you'll have it right away. Actually, sometimes there's a little bit of a bug on my site. I'll let you know now. So if it doesn't seem like it went through, don't send it through again. I'll just have to refund your money the second time. But I'll check after. If you order it and it doesn't show up in your inbox during this show, I will send it to you personally, because I'll have your email address, so just make sure the one on PayPal is the same one. Anyway, though, as you're using sequences to construct your own speed drills, that's how I got hooked on sequences in the first place, is basically doing speed drills. I was trying to build my speed and continually have more and more and more stuff I can do at high speeds. All right, so anyway, yeah, beware of the whole same finger having to pick up and jump somewhere else, okay? Now, another thing, this one goes hand in hand. This is actually not even, I'm going to go out of order. This was my number 4. But next one, and number 2 now, is too many consecutive instances of rolling technique, okay? I'm sorry, I see some comments coming, and I'm going to get to you in a second, but rolling technique, all right? This is a little bit different from barring, and most people don't realize that there's a difference here, because it's just the one thing. Most of us know about barring, you know, basically notice that you're not hearing. Most people, I think, would probably do that. Almost every student I've ever had started off doing that. And I used to do that too. It feels safer to sort of just anchor your finger in one place and not pick it up, because then what if I miss? You know, there's too much going on at one time and I want to put my finger down, right? No. You want single note melodies, unless you're trying to do that kind of soloing style where you're like, you know, like. If you're trying to solo like that, sure, you're going to be barring a lot. But for single note type stuff, you know, the single note all the way, which means that if you're going to be playing, you know, different notes across, you can use a little bit of palm muting. I've been known to sort of lean on that just a little bit too, but the thing is, rolling technique all by itself, you shouldn't need palm muting to do it, okay? It's okay to use it once in a while, especially if it makes the phrase sound better, but you shouldn't have to rely on it. Okay, notice how each of those notes is separate. All right, so if I want to do something like, let's see. If I want to play this phrase at that speed, there's going to be a lower speed ceiling if you have to do rolling, because it's just going to be a big mess. You can only reposition your finger so quickly, and you know, and have some control. And plus, there's another one of our speed killers built into this particular thing too. But I'll talk about that in a second. I'll just return to this same lick for the next example. All right, so different techniques facilitate different levels of speed. I should also, that's not really a speed killer, but this now seems like a good time to reveal that little chunk of wisdom. Not every technique is going to be able to be done at the same speed. Okay. In fact, you as a player, we often sum up. I don't know how we don't often sum up, but we think of ourselves as being at a certain level, as if it's one thing. But every individual skill that you have is sort of at a different level. It's a much more complex chemistry set than that when it comes to your profile as a player of all the things that you can do. All right. Now, I'm not going to ignore the comments for long because I see more of them are coming in here. Economy picking legato. I heard years ago when I was just getting into playing, I was told to keep your work close. Have you ever heard this? I'm not sure what you mean. I don't know if you mean in terms of kind of like keeping your cards close to the vest kind of thing, or I'm not sure how you mean. Please elaborate on that. I'm curious what you mean on that. CC, thank you. I just try and I don't, not even an influence. I know the name. I'm sure I've heard it. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, thank you. I know that's a compliment. So thank you, or I take it as such. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to the different techniques that are available to you, there are reasons why. I mean, in fact, I've said this before on these shows, but now that I have you all here, I'll say it again, that a technique is a method of achieving a certain sound or a certain result. Okay, so we use a technique to get this, we use a different technique to get that. Okay, legato is an example. Legato is a way to get a smoother, more connected sounding melody, as opposed to something like palm muting, which I might use on the same technique, I might use on the same melody, but it'll give it a drastically different sound. All right, so if I'm feeling. Oh, all right, I'm down a half step. I'm going to call it D minor, but I'm in C sharp minor. I'm feeling the C sharp minor today. But now that ripping kind of pick sound, that's what I think probably mean. That's where whoever called it shredding for the first time was probably referring to, is that sound. But you can still get. In fact, you can even probably get that sort of sand spitting kind of quality if you do legato and try to palm mute a little bit. Right? Right. I find it a little bit easier personally for me now. Now, I didn't always, but to pick the notes continuously, I usually find most phrases a little bit easier to just do pure alternate picking, because I'm good at alternate picking. So, play to your strengths. But there's because pretty much your shredding is pretty much going to be that. If you can't pick it, you're certainly not going to be able to play it while picking it that fast too. And that kind of brings us to, I guess, the bonus. I'm going to give you the bonus now. All of them are important, so stick around to the end anyway. I'm giving you the bonus right now. The thing is, our third bonus here, our bonus speed killer, is not being able to pick that fast in the first place. It came up, so, I didn't mean to jump to it this early in the show, but it's pretty important. So let's just say that. One of the things that I've been doing over the last year with students, very early on as I start to work with them, I try to remember to do it always, but I might have forgotten. Actually, yeah, Matthew, I don't know if we did this when we met the last couple of times, but I'm going to have you do it now. You can email me your results too, by the way. I know you're not enrolled right now, but it doesn't matter to me, because next time we do work together, I'll need to know that, and we can just see how you're doing, how you've been doing since then. But what I would like you to do is what I call the tremolo test, okay? And you basically just hop on to Guitar Practice Tools, like that, and now, of course, I don't actually have it pulled up because there it is, Guitar Practice Tools. What you do is you go into My Backing Tracks, go to the Beats page, which is the main one, and just start tremolo picking one note. It can be an open string, it doesn't really matter, but I want you to tell me how fast in NPM preferably, notes per minute, you're able to keep control. I feel like I kind of need to make additional ones because there are certain things that I'm definitely not even able to touch 210, but just for the tremolo test, basically, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm pushing it. That's questionable, you know. Let's try something. You know what the problem is? I'm playing a 3/4 thing, 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 1E and the 2E and the 3E and 1. I should probably do something a little more 4/4 friendly on that one, and maybe even get a little running head start at 200. But sometimes the pick slips out of your fingers. Right. And it starts to fall apart after a little while, but I just want to know, and you can all do this, by the way. You can feel free to, you know, if you're already somebody I've worked with before, just send me an email at the email you know for me. And if you have not yet worked with me yet, I invite you to go to ShredMentor.com, fill out the form, tell me what you're looking to do with your playing, and include that in there that, hey, I did the tremolo test and I maxed out at this particular thing. There is a particular page you can get some of these beats even without being a student and without paying a dime or a penny, even nothing. I think it's at ShredMentorOnline.com/WC. That's from Woodshedding Challenge. This is something I did at the very, very start of the pandemic when it was apparent that shit was getting real and things were going to change drastically. So I was like, you know what? We're all stuck in the house. Everybody grab your guitar. And I think that was a nice pivot on my part because I haven't seen a single student in my house since then. But you know what? I left it up. I haven't been pushing it anymore. I don't talk about it anymore. I kind of quite forgot about it until just now. But I realized you can have access to these beats. Most of them, some of them. I think there's like 6 of them I gave you. And so you can go in there. You just create an account on the site just so you can access it and log in and stuff like that because it's not, you know. We can all hang out here, but it's going to be your stuff, and I think there's still some personalized stuff that you can access through it too. But anyway, the one I'm using right now, all of those beats on the screen right now are available through the Woodshedding Challenge page. So again, ShredMentorOnline.com/WC. If you already have a ShredMentor account, by the way, just sign into that first, and then just go to that page. Make sure you sign in first before you do, because otherwise it's just going to create a duplicate account. Anyway, though. Use this, just do pure tremolo picking. I just felt the need for speed, as I said before, you know, again.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
So silly. Anyway, but yeah, just... Now, one thing I'll talk about, too, about when it comes to tremolo, since, you know, again, if your ability to pick fast is getting in your way of playing fast, this is the way to rectify it. Tremolo picking now, I want to point out one thing, first of all. Tremolo picking is not, as some authoritative magazines say right in their tablature key, that you just play as fast as you can. That is a bullshit, incorrect definition. That is not what tremolo picking is. Playing as fast as you can is called flailing. There is no indication that there's any control. Okay, just moving, just going. That is not worth jack shit musically, okay? You could throw it in maybe as, all right, in some kind of black metal-y like background texture where it doesn't matter and it's just, you know, texture, fine. But with shred, every single subbeat has to be counted. We are going to talk about that because that's the beginning of another speed killer here in a second. But just pushing it in 4s and 3s and 6s, okay? That's going to solve pretty much everything. Actually, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Every single beat, basically just practice repeating notes in 2s and then in 3s and then in 4s and then in 6s. And when I say these quantities, I mean accent the first one of whatever that quantity is. So if it's just 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If it's 3s, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. actually pick harder, pick louder on the first note, because you're going to lose your place once it starts to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right? It's too much going on, especially if it's just the same note. They all start to sound a lot like each other because it's nearly the same sound. So if you're not accenting, you will absolutely lose your place. So being able to pick that fast in the first place kind of does have to come first. I lucked out that I accidentally discovered how to speed pick while trying to play along to some Morbid Angel back when I was like 15 or 16. And so I was actually just trying to do my all downstrokes. I messed up because I went so fast I couldn't get back around the string to do another downstroke, so I accidentally did an upstroke in between. But I was still counting the downstrokes, and I accidentally was doing sextuplets instead of triplets. And I'm like, oh shit, that was it. It's just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You count the downstrokes. That's the trick. So if you want to do fast sextuplets, just count the triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right? That's how you get, well, from triplets to sextuplets at least. Just count your downstrokes. So there's a little tip for you. Wasn't supposed to be tips. It's about watch out for these problems. But yeah, that'll help push you a little bit faster with your picking, hopefully. It's simple. That's all it is. Just count half of your picking and just echo with the upstrokes. All right, let's get back to the intentional ones. This was the bonus 8th thing. I did say 7 earlier, but anyway, so far we have having to pick up and jump with the same finger at a different fret on a different string. Big problem. Too many consecutive instances of rolling technique will totally throw you off, and that's going to end up coming into play. The thing I did earlier. There's one other weakness that's built into that particular musical example, and that'll be our number 4, which is too many string changes in a row. All right, so if you want to play really fast, try to keep as many notes on a single string in a burst as possible. Okay, so if I had just a bunch of, unless you're sweeping, all right, and that's where sweeping comes in. All right, so there's a that's where sweeping exists, because it's a quick way to go really quick across a whole bunch of strings. But then you need a series of patterns that actually work with that. So that's going to be one segment of your vocabulary. In general, though, unless you're sweeping, still there's going to be sweepable patterns and maybe less sweepable patterns. Having a couple notes on one string can also buy you some time. So you notice when I was doing that, there's 2 notes on this string, 1 note, 1 note, 1 note, and then 2 notes over here. That gives me a chance to go hammer on, pick, 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 pick in the other direction and pull off for a second. It's not the only way to sweep, but it's way more sweepable than it's just not fun. It sucks, all right? And so here's the problem. The pick has to be in too many damn places in too short a time. That's it. That will kill your speed. So that's why I took this earlier and I showed you, well, what if I can get them all on one string? All right, that's going to be way faster on a single string with tapping or something like that. And in fact, even, just honestly, right, that is even going to be easier because the pick only has one place to go, right? Which is why you can get just crazy fast, like. You can just get through one string. Notice I still did multiple notes on different strings, but I slowed it down to half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of 1 into 2, into 3, into 4. I was slowing it down there, right? So I save those types of things for different rhythmic values. So it's not like you don't ever want to play those things, but have enough rhythmic variation in what you play so that you have room to play the things at the speed you can play them at. Anyway, so that's another thing that'll really screw you up. Is just having to pick between too many strings. There's something. Let's see. Right, something like that. Just 4 notes, ascending and descending over and over again. No repeat notes. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm using E harmonic minor or E flat harmonic minor. like I said, I'm tuned down a half step. All right, so 3 notes here, but I have that 1 note I got to go over there for every once in a while, right? All right, oops. I guess you could possibly do it. I have a little bit of a hard time doing the harmonic minor, so certain shapes in particular might give you more or less challenge too. Rather than harmonic minor, I'll just do diminished. It's always going to be easier to do a slide over a half step than it will be a whole step, by the way. And if there's stretching involved, even the half step. So middle finger on the way up for the middle note. Slide up a half step. And ring finger all the way back down. So that has to be part of the sequence. You know, the actual finger changes are part of the movement. And part of the musical idea, rather. All right, so something like that might be technically a little bit easier, but I get to keep the same fingers in. So in a way, that is a little bit more comfortable, but it's just like that one, maybe 1 note here and there is not so bad. But when you have a whole bunch of different notes, you got to keep going over here and over there, and you know, it just makes it a lot harder. So keeping as many notes as you can on 1 string at a time really helps. So things like the position shifting zigzag sequence is a good example of this. It's kind of 3 notes per string, but it's basically you have 4 different actual notes you're playing, but it's even longer. I'm on that string for longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 3 more notes on the next string. 10, 11, 12. And then here I have another 9, so it's really 12 notes per string after the first 9. Oops. Yeah, that's where I got. Sorry, getting lost in my scale there. It can happen to anybody. Anyway, so yeah, that one has a lot of notes on 1 string before I have to suddenly just jump over to another string, but then I get to stay there for a while. So it facilitates better speed. So try to stay as much on 1 string for periods of time. Even just doing, this is kind of one of my favorite go-tos also. Sequence of 6. Because the thing is, I am staying on each string for 6 notes except for the first. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that string. 1, 2, 3 notes here. Down, up, down. Then it's up, down, down. Sorry, up, down, up, down, up, down. Because I'm basically repeating the highest 3 notes of one shape as the lowest 3 notes of the next shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So anytime you can get as many notes as possible on 1 string, it's going to definitely maximize your ability to play faster on that string. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Try to avoid too many unnecessary string changes. One of the things you can also do that kind of achieves the same effect is like a 7-note loop. A lot of the time I might take this like, I'll take like a hexachord, so 3 notes, and just like 1 more note on this side. And it's fine, but it's down, up, down, up, down, up, and then 1 downstroke. So I'm coming from upstroke, and I got to go back past the string I just hit for a downstroke, and then come back the other way for an upstroke in the other direction too. It's a little too much inside picking for my liking. Now you're probably thinking economy picking. That's what that's for, right? Here's the problem: down, up, down, down, up, down, down. I'm going that way. I need to come back that way for an upstroke. There's still an inside pick in the same damn spot. However, This will also be economy picking friendly, but I'll show you with alternate picking first. In fact, it came up in a lesson a week or two ago, I think, or 3 or 4. I can't. All time is a blur to me anymore. I'm a father of a toddler now, so I don't know. I don't remember anything from last week, vaguely. Anyway, take basically, instead of the one note by itself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and note 7 over here, just sitting by itself on one string where you have to do a pain in the ass pick stroke, do 2 modes, 2 positions of hexachords. 3 note per string all the way, only on 2 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Move up to 7 with a slide, or just reposition. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then so. All right, so that is another one. Right, so those are much more speed friendly. Yeah, that's a little harder to kind of deal with because just having that one note there, I can still play it fairly fast, but I could play it a lot cleaner if I don't have to do that. Just way more shred friendly because I'm keeping it all, it's 6 notes per string every time, so it's the same ability as the sequence of 6s. It's kind of 2 sequences of 6 really. It's 6 up and then 6 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the first 6. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 is another 6. So it's actually an ascending 6 followed by a descending 6 without a repeat note. So still the sequence of 6. So anyway, that's just one way that you can kind of approach that. Again, I was about to say it earlier and I kind of forgot, so I want to throw this in here real quick too. You could also obviously do it without pick strokes because, I think in the beginning when I was starting to hit this sort of roadblock in my playing and couldn't play nearly as fast as I wanted to, this was a major pain point, which is what really propelled me to do what I eventually did. But it was a very difficult thing to figure out, which is why I do this now as ShredMentor, is to make it easier on you so you don't have to go through the same kind of painful experience. But emotionally painful. Basically, like one of the hardest things is really to synchronize both hands. And I know this is no secret. This is one of the main things everybody knows is basically being able to play fast and clean means you have to get both of your hands synchronized, which is like, okay, well, how the hell am I supposed to do that? And so here we are looking at it right here. Not a metronome, better than a metronome. Subbeats that you can hear a sound on every single one. Go to guitarpracticetools.com and use the tools that I used, and you will get the results that I got. All right, so let's go and pull that up again. There's a big difference between click, 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 and click, 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 or click, 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 click. That's the only note you're all going to really be able to line up to the beat if you have a metronome. So, having something where you can hear every single beat, computer perfect, locked to the tempo, is going to be way, way better for your playing because the evenness of your 16th notes are going to be a lot more even. You're going to be able to tell if you're locked in with them or not, or just locked in with the very first one. And it'll show when you're playing. So the thing is, like, this is Guitar Practice Tools. I built it, but I was using these tools before I built it because they were a bunch of separate tools. They were a drum machine and it was the scales that I needed to memorize. But I honestly knew the intervals, so I kind of figured out my own scale shapes and decided very early on that I kind of like to stick to the same number of notes per string as much as possible. So my playing and my vocabulary will kind of reflect that, and of course my teaching will reflect that a little bit too, because the types of things that I'm going to reach for to show you are going to be based on shapes, at least, that have the same number of notes per string. I don't tend to do the thing where people are like, minor scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then move down. There's like 2 notes here, and then 3 notes here, then 3 notes here, then 3 notes. Like that weird ass string with only 2 notes on it has always been like, no, I don't want that. I don't need ABC to be ABC on this string. They can have a B, C, D on that. So this shape is just pure 3 notes per string. My picking hand doesn't have all this guesswork to do and suddenly have a completely different set of movements. I can just use the same 6-beat picking movement from everywhere. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up. All right, so I think that's a far better benefit doing it that way than having to do like this one weird-ass thing and purposely throw a damn speed bump right in the middle. All right, and I guess that's sort of another bonus thing, is try to favor things that have the same number of notes per string, even if you're not going to play all of them. At least you kind of have a better, more reliable map of where you are on the fretboard in your mind than having like 3 notes here, 3 notes here, 3 notes here. Oh, let's do 2 notes on that string, and then let's go back to 3 notes, 3 notes. It's just, that's not efficient, and it's, that's not helping anything. Not in my opinion. If you like those shapes and you're attached to them and you're comfortable with them, go ahead, use them. I'm not telling you not to, but if you're still learning your fretboard and somebody shows you that, come up with what the shape would have been. Extend that one string with the 2 notes to 3 notes, and what does that make? What does that mean for the next couple strings after that? Like, if you've already accounted for that note, A minor, A, so that would be G, A. That's the only string there. So then, the only string that has 2 notes on it. So that's the 7th and the root. So I'm picking up at the 2, 2, 3, 4. Well, if I do 7, 1, 2, I'm actually going to be picking it up at the 3, not at the 2. So everything's going to be kind of one mode up from what it would have been for the remaining 3 strings. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and then 2, 3, 4. Not 1, 2, 3. Right? It's just going to put me in. This is more like a hybrid scale of 2 different modes to me. I can play it. I know where the notes are, but it's not. Doesn't flow the same. My picking is quite reversed as soon as I hit the 3rd string, actually, because I'm short 1 pick stroke that I would have normally had. So I have to start thinking a lot more, which actually sucks. Thinking is what's going to screw you up, by the way. Don't overthink it. That really, really holds true with playing music, any instrument. If you're thinking too much, it's going to screw you up. So try to get as much into autopilot as possible. Anyway, these are all just sort of related there, but anyway, technically, this is one of the things we're talking about. Let's tie this into one of these other speed killers, which is unfamiliarity. Okay, so basically, just not knowing where you're going next. I mean, imagine if this was, rather than navigating the fretboard, imagine you're driving on a dark, small road at nighttime, with the lights off. Are you going to go peeling around that 90-degree turn, like, in an area you don't know? I mean, maybe you live around the corner and you get comfortable with your own neighborhood. You can take that turn pretty fast. You start to learn after a couple months of living there. But, and I learned this back when I lived in Vermont for like 4 months. Because I lived in flat-ass New Jersey where there were no mountains. But suddenly, I'm really high up and it's icy and I'm in a 2-wheel drive truck. And if I take that turn a little too fast, I'm going to slide off the road and maybe be found, maybe in a couple weeks, at the bottom of an icy mountain. Big difference, right? But you start to learn after a little while. Actually, you don't have to go that slow. That's why these people that live here all their life drive like friggin' maniacs up there. So, anyway, might not all get that same reference. Maybe you grew up around mountains and it's like, well, this is just a tourist. But anyway, familiarity, right? You can go faster on terrain that you know. It's just that simple, right? So I wouldn't be shredding something I don't know. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that. Right? Scales that you know, patterns that you know, fretboard patterns and interval patterns that you know are going to be easier to play faster because you're not going to lose your place as easily. So it's that simple, but really, I mean, like, if you're not in the habit of using a scale for that, and to me that seems really weird and alien to say, and I wouldn't say it if I hadn't seen it so many times, but I know that there are many guitarists out there that do manage to develop quite a bit of technique, and I can't for the life of me tell what their criteria is for which notes they're going to play one after the next. And if it sounds cool to you, good, that's great. But I don't tend to go for a really outside sound most of the time. I kind of like keys and scales, even if they're somewhat, dissonant. So this one's fresh in mind too. I was just doing the. That is not that dissonant. That's very melodic. That's the harmonic minor scale. But there's something very similar for that little section of the scale called the diminished scale, which is just consecutive half step, whole step, and forever. Just alternating half steps and whole steps forever. Oops. I think I lost my key on that anyway. If there's a key for that, I'm not sure how you can, what keys belong to the diatonic scale world of things. Oh, you know what? I realized that I'm going to go back to my other view here. You don't need, Guitar Practice Tools now. GuitarPracticeTools.com if you don't have it, or at least just go get the Woodshedding Challenge tools for now. But I'm missing part of my my chat here. Keeping your work close in regards to the 3 notes per string. Oh, yes. I have never heard it referred to that way, but yeah, same patterns down all 3 strings. Down all strings. Van Halen. It definitely makes things a lot easier to play. There is one pitfall that can come with it. It's that it makes your melodies sound. The notes that are near each other in the scale are going to be the first one everybody reaches for. So having this is where string skipping can give you things like wider intervals and stuff like that. So instead of so we go. Whoops, where's my pick tip? There we go. So you might do like. That's basically a sequence of 6, but with string skipping, 3 notes per string. So there's 3 notes close to each other, and then we just jump over a whole string, and then so that it can be, you're basically jumping a 5th or a 4th, depending on what string we're talking about here. So that's like one way that you can get some more interesting stuff, and then of course that's what makes string skipping that much more challenging. But it's not that different. You just have basically. The trick here is that when you do down, up, down, you don't just go little tiny. Don't keep that final pick stroke of that one string the same tiny movement. Tiny, big. You use the pick stroke movement to navigate to the next string. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So that time I couldn't do it, right? So, actually, that's because I did a zigzag on the middle. Down, up, down, big wide, up, down, up, then down, up, big downstroke, up, down, up. So yeah, it's all motor memory now. So slowing it down and being thoughtful about it. See, thinking is screwing me up. That way I can just come back for a little pick stroke for that first upstroke. Down, up, right? So keep that kind of thing in mind too. It actually, as much as I said, moving to another string can screw you up, you have to. It's going to be part of what you're doing. Anyway, some more comments here. I actually got the bundle from Bandcamp a while back. Oh yes, you did. I'm glad. See, that's another good way to do it. I was actually doing that with my MP3 player for quite a while. Over the years, a lot of the beats that are here are the oldest backing tracks that I've had, at least since going back to about 2015, I think. I built Guitar Practice Tools in 2013, so it is, it's 10 years old now. But in 2015, I kind of redid them because I actually started getting irritated with them being too short, so I went through and I made all of them. That's when everything became like 10 minutes long. All of the tracks, or almost all the tracks. There's a couple I never did, but most of the backing tracks, whether they be drones or beats or other backing tracks, that's when I just decided, 10 minutes. I'll essentially make the backing track itself a 10-minute timer, and that way I don't keep getting interrupted in the middle of my train of thought. Just when things are flowing nicely, I just started getting really pissed off because I kept getting interrupted by my short ass, backing tracks, because I was following the model everybody else uses. So good. I'm glad that you have that. I forget about that all the time, actually, because it's sort of an afterthought most of the time. But ShredMentor.bandcamp.com is a place where you can just go get the actual beats. You can listen to them, I think, 3 whole times through the album. Each collection is what you see on the screen is also available as an album of backing tracks, backing beats on ShredMentor.bandcamp.com. There's actually a lot up there. I didn't put all of the backing tracks up there because, like I said, I kind of forget about it, but I'm glad you reminded me. Thank you, Matthew. Nice, Chris Poland in the house. Thank you. You know what? That's like an era of Megadeth that I only barely know about, and it was only because of a student I had maybe like 7 years ago, and so I had to kind of look. I'm like, oh, okay, that was one of the Megadeth guitarists. And so I remember a little bit about. I'd have to actually listen to his style because I don't remember. But I'm glad that something sounded like that to you. Once again, thank you. I take that as a compliment, regardless. The Paul Gilbert lick. Yes, basically, yeah. Paul Gilbert loves some sequence of 6. That's basically, much of, oh, fuck, what the hell's the name of it? The, technical difficulties. Yeah. So much of that is just, sequence of 6. And just like, yeah. Yeah, I forget exactly how to play it, but yeah, I know the runs are. And then when he really starts doing his, it is very much the Paul Gilbert lick. But yeah, it's super shreddy. It's very easy to shred that kind of thing. And as you're running through your scale, again, talking about familiarity being the thing that makes you good at anything, really. But to be able to shred, you're dealing with 6 notes in the first phrase. And then you get to reuse 3 of those notes. So your next 6-note phrase already contains 3 notes that are literally right under your fingers. You haven't even left the string yet. So you really only have 3 new notes every time you go onto a new one. So that's what, to me, I kind of was able to pinpoint very early why that's such a shreddable phrase. And it's actually, I used the sequence of 6s to build my familiarity of the fretboard. I inside and out got to know the natural minor and harmonic minor scales really, really, really well by alternating back and forth between them using sequences of 6, and using exactly that feature where there's only 3 new notes, so I don't have to do the entire scale. It's not a race across the strings as much as I'm talking about speed, absorbing the knowledge and becoming truly familiar in like a really, really detailed way. It's not going to happen this week. It doesn't have to be the entire scale. It would just be 2 overlapping hexachord shapes is all, and I used to nickname it that. That's still what I kind of nickname the sequences of 6 when you do it across the strings, is overlapping hexachords, because a hexachord is a 6-note scale fragment, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just do the same back and forth, just 3 string. Lost my little scene changer there. Let me get back in here. Reconnect. This happens at least once a week. Downward slant picking. Yes, you've mentioned that, and I kind of do that anyway a little bit, but yeah, just being flat against the string. I've never found that to be too bad. There is some amount of resistance that is relieved by doing that, but my guitar neck is always just a little bit pointed up, and my hand is always just, I'm always slightly angled with the pick anyway. 3-note string, 3, 5, 7 on E, A, 5, 7, oh yeah, octaves, the octave trick. It's a little harder with the sequence of 6 doing it that way, but oops. And for some reason I chose an A. Just felt right. I know that was a G major otherwise. Okay, so a couple more of these. One of the next things here that can really, really kill your speed is too many consecutive position shifts in rapid succession, like 2 notes in a row. And then I'm not talking, there's been plenty of, once in a while, just that kind of thing is manageable. But if you have a lot of just moving around, so I'll give you an example. Right? There's something. The first video I ever did, I don't know if it was ShredMentor or what. It's not even on this channel actually. It's on my old YouTube channel because I didn't actually use the name ShredMentor until 2010. So I was teaching as ShredMentor. I just wasn't really using the name yet. I was basically everything I'm doing now is what I meant to do in the first place. But back in 2009, I did this video and I called this little exercise the chromatic spiral. So maybe some of you know about that. But basically, it's just rather than just going. Instead of doing that, I was just picturing very visually going kind of, so slide. So I didn't do this. I didn't slide and then slide back. I could have. I still can. It's just going to keep the potential speed lower. All right. So that's what I wanted to kind of do is make sure that I keep my slides a little bit separated apart and not make them have to be done by the same finger over and over again. And then you just start over again, just like the sequence of sixes, but just play the last 4 notes again as the first 4 notes of the next phrase. So something like that. Let's try it at I don't know, it's 170. Give it the tremolo running head start. I like to lock into the tempo this way sometimes. Something like that. Anyway, not meant to be a very musical exercise, but it is something to get all your fingers involved. And I do like the chromatic scale in some ways. I actually do use it for, I'll use it in a chromaticism kind of way where I'm kind of still hinting at diatonic notes. So maybe I'll like play a minor scale's tones from start to octave using chromatic runs. So I'll use like E minor from its 5th. Right, so you can do that kind of thing. You get the sense of a key from the notes that I'm holding out, and the phrase itself also starts on one of those notes each time too. So, anyway, that's all. That's kind of a fun thing to do. Thanks, Mike. I'm glad you liked that one. There's fun and musical ways to use the chromatic scale. I don't use it beyond that too much. I was actually looking for stuff to do reels and YouTube shorts and stuff, if you guys are interested, if you want to check out my Bandcamp after this, there's a song on my last album called Emanations, which I have a really big signed copy. Anyway, that's what it looks like. Emanations. Track 5, called The 7th Tower, is there's a solo in there I'm probably going to be doing a playthrough of pretty soon that uses a lot of... I forget exactly. I know I ended up using just really fast runs. I'm gonna have to relearn the solo, of course, because I don't remember how to play it because it's been 6 years and I haven't touched it since. So I don't know. I'm sure I can figure it out, but I have to get in there. And it wasn't done on this guitar. That whole album was done in 8 string, so I have to. It's not this tuning. It's tuned up a half step, and then I have extra string. So not like I didn't use the 8th string on that solo, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's see. Same finger, pick up and jump. Too many string changes for the pick, so that's going to slow you down. Big speed bumps there. Too many consecutive position shifts with one finger. Try to avoid all these things. Too many consecutive instances of rolling technique. Unfamiliarity. Inability to to actually pick a certain speed to begin with. You're not going to be hitting 200 BPM shredding if you can't do 200 BPM just alternate picking with one target, one note, So that has to come first. There's two more really, okay? And this one I'm glad you guys have stayed around. I have a couple more. There's really two more, so I guess it's like 8 or 9 of them. I said 7. I like to over deliver, so here we go. This is one. Pay close attention. The next speed killer is poor rhythmic accounting. Okay, speed is rhythm. Everything in speed is rhythm. Okay, I did play fast tonight for you. All of it was of a rhythmic nature. There was no point of it, no point that I was not counting except for that time that I purposely just picked as fast as I could to show you what flailing is as opposed to tremolo picking. Tremolo picking is two things. It is two things happening at once. Play for a certain duration and play at a certain rhythmic speed for that duration. Okay, that's what that basically is. So if you do, 4 repetitions each, it's implied that, that 16th notes, so it's basically play 16th note pace for the duration of a quarter note. Or maybe if I do 8, maybe it's 16th note 16th note pace and half note duration. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Or maybe it's just 30-second notes for the duration of a quarter note, which is still And again, counting all downstrokes really helps with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, you count, you're doing downstroke 16ths, but you're also picking in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and right? Something simple like that to practice it. So let's do that. So this is 16th notes. So actually 30-second notes would be the same speed as this, but only picking it. So that would be 30-second notes at 100 BPM. Your downstrokes should fall on every kick that you hear, because I didn't do 30-second note beats, I just did 16ths. If you want to go past that, you just subdivide. Okay, anyway, so poor rhythmic accounting. Not planning ahead how long your phrase is, okay? You can go about it really from 2 different angles here. You can just construct something out of a bunch of 4s or 3s or 6s or whatever the rhythmic number is you want to be your, how many sub beats per beat. Or you can just play a long-ass melody and make sure it cuts off at exactly some multiple of 3 or 4. Or 6, which is, any multiple of 6 is a multiple of 3. But anyway, that kind of thing, right? So almost all of the sequences in the book of sequences, there's a couple that are not, but almost all of them are multiples of 2, 3, 4, or 6 in length. The counting once in the beginning, all right? I'll purposely I do this one a lot. This is my go-to to demonstrate this, but the zigzag sequences, okay? They're odd numbered. They're either 5 for the outside strings, so basically just up and back down. So 5 notes on that string, or on the middle strings, I'm going to go down, up, and down, or up, down, up, depending on which direction I'm going. So I might use this for the turnaround. It's only 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's where I'm ascending, so. All right. But it's another way of keeping more notes on one string, but it's all odd numbered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm going to make this be triplet friendly because I know where I land when it comes to 30-second notes, but I'm basically doing 8 beats worth of triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, end. I do usually, yes. I can take it off if you like. It's for my enjoyment. So yeah, I'll take it off if you want. Better? So anyway, that's the idea. Good question, but yes, I do. I really like delay. It's my favorite. Let's see. So after that, let's see. So yeah, rhythmic accounting. All right. Sometimes I think of this as taking rhythmic inventory, because I just counted through. I counted it in threes as I went, but it was the shape that really kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I could add it, however you want to arrive there, but you want to arrive at something that is a multiple. I didn't even really count. I don't get the final number really. I guess what it was 8 beats times 3, that's 24, plus a final note is 25. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, final note 25. So it did work out to be that. But here's another one, right? Let's say I'm just doing those middle strings, right? 7 notes. There's 4 middle strings though, so that's a multiple of 4. Let's say I do another 4 at the end and stop on the 5th note, which is actually going to be... So let's see. Well, pick a key. D minor again. Sorry, I'm calling it D minor. It's really C sharp minor, but D minor on the guitar. And tune down a half step. All right, so I'll start at D. All right, now I'm going to do the 16th notes for 8 beats plus the final note. 1, 8, and remember I did 7 notes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 4 is 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 3 times 7 is 21. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. That's 4 times 7. That's only 7 beats. I want to make it at least, 2 measures of 4, 4. All right? And so that is 8E and 1. Right? I only need to count to that multiple of 4 plus the 1. I like a final note. It's punctuation to me. I like to count once because now I know it's compatible. All right, I'm looking for rhythmic compatibility. That's what I mean by rhythmic inventory or rhythmic accounting. If you haven't counted to make sure you've got exactly a number of notes that works in your rhythmic situation, which you are always, always, always in a rhythmic situation, you're prepare to crash and burn because you're not, that's just being ill prepared. Okay, so that's the thing when we go. Oh, hey, Metal Rules, thank you. I won't call your name. I remember your name this time, but thank you. Unless you call yourself out, I'm not going to call you by name. I remember I should not do that, but glad you could catch the show tonight, and also same to you, Mike. Thank you. I got one more, and I'm going to talk about that in one more second here, but let me go back to the Guitar Practice Tools page real quick. And yeah, let's go ahead and pull up. Where the hell's my browser? Okay, there it is. And it's on the screen for you, but I got to switch to another window for it. So yeah, so I counted that whole thing out. I used the fact that it's the same number of notes per string. I talked about that earlier. Same number of notes per string allows me to quickly multiply to get to a number. All right, so it depends on how well I'm fairly comfortable with basic arithmetic. I know math is not everybody's thing. If you wanted a kick-ass party, there's probably not going to be a lot of math going on. It's not most people's idea of a fun time. But doing the same math over and over again essentially is what. I know people say there's a lot of math. It can be a lot of math in music, but it's not so much that there's a lot of math. It's just a lot of the same math problems over and over again. Multiples of 4 and 3 and 6. That's it. If you know those at least, or just keep a times table around. It's quick. So having the same number of notes per string across a multiple strings allows me to much more quickly calculate if how close I am to the number I need it to be. Because part of writing music, and especially like doing it quickly and in the studio and cranking out music, means being able to fill the time that you intend to with something of quality. So the quality is coming from my scale choice and which note I play at each moment. But I'm shredding. Let's say it's probably going to be a lot of the same rhythmic value. And of course I can vary it and just have a note hold out longer. You know, let's say I end it on the final 16th note instead of a punctuation mark on beat 1 of the final measure. So, oh. All right, so let's play that. I'll play it like 140. A little slower just so you can kind of get that syncopation thing. I think that kind of syncopation works a little slower, honestly. I like how it kind of kicks in, just sort of my final note kicks in just a little bit before the actual beat. It's I just sort of like that groove that it kind of creates. I feel like it's more pronounced when you do it at a slower tempo, but I mean, technically you can do it anywhere. Timing is music. Absolutely, yes. I mean, and to me, the way I've kind of always looked at it too, one way I think of it is that rhythm is sort of how we make sense out of time, you know, because it helps. I mean, and really, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, rhythm is the physiological part of music. I mean, all those hundreds of thousands of years as a species, we were spent walking around 1, 2, 1, 2. Anybody who had fewer than 2 feet wasn't walking around at all and got left behind by the tribe. So it was all 1, 2, 1, 2, left, right, your heart's pumping, 1, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2. So 2, 4 is like the biological time signature. We have rhythm just built right in. You know, and each of us, you know, I'm sure we're all walking at a different speed back in caveman days and shit, but, you know. Anyway, one last final thing, and I do want to say this because this is also this kind of ties into familiarity, but it also ties into rhythm, and it ties into all the different things. This is sort of a good way to sum it up. So in a way, it's good I threw you the bonuses way early, because the last thing I want to say here is the biggest speed killer, I think, too, is also going to be a lack of musical motor memory, specifically from using sequences, because otherwise, without something, I mean, sequences are a good way to start, okay, and you don't have to use stock sequences, although I do all the time. I give you lots and lots and lots of them. I don't remember how many are in the book of sequences, but again, go over to shredmentoronline.com/products, get a copy of the ebook of the book of sequences. It's only $10. Look through it. There are so many useful things in there, because not one of them is tied exclusively to any particular scale or interval pattern. It can be used with any number of notes from any relationship, as long as you have the right number of notes. And this will it will furnish you with so many valuable pieces of vocabulary, because once again, almost everything in that book, with the exception of a couple things that I just did that were purposely odd-timey kind of things, almost everything was chosen for the fact that it works out great in typical time signatures. It means it's a multiple of 2, 3, 4, or 6 in the actual length of things. And sometimes it's a multiple of several of those. Anything that's 12 notes long is a multiple of 2, 3, 4, and 6, for example. And 24, also a multiple of 8, too. So, yeah, it just depends on the length of the phrase that you get. So having a nice backdrop of motor memory, of using your scales and arpeggios within actual sequences, is invaluable for making the things that you do fast also musical, because you could do anything fast. But anyway, I hope that this helps. I do have to go because I'm about 8 minutes over, and I can hear my family waiting for me to hurry the hell up and see my son to bed. Anyway, thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate your participation in chat. This always helps a lot. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on the YouTube channel. That is the main place for ShredMentor Central going forward here. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/ShredMentor. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of reels and stuff coming up in the next couple of days and stuff like that too. But, you know, let me know in the comments on this video what you'd like to hear more in the future on these future episodes, because my goal is always to serve you and give you stuff that you can really use in real life. None of this theoretical bullshit or like little tiny nuggets of one-off where you're possibly going to use that in real life. I want to give you hard-hitting stuff every time I talk to you, hopefully, and in a cool, laid-back, chat-like setting. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again next week for another episode of ShredMentor Live. And until then,